It's Waxing Lyrical, baby.
Hello, Waxers, and welcome to Waxing Lyrical with Mains and Dutch. I'm your host, Mains, my colleague, in the danger zone in Rainford, to Mr. Neil Dutton. How are we, Neil?
It is dangerous at the moment because it's doing that funny being warm thing, so therefore people don't know how to behave or dress when it's warm. Like, for example, I've just noticed, this may be me, I may have noticed it wrong, but we seem to be going back to the walking around with shirts buttoned right up to the neck but not wearing a tie. Well,
Yeah, I've seen but on a short sleeve, not on a long sleeve, surely.
Yeah. It's
on a long sleeve?
I've seen long sleeves, I've seen t-shirts, I've seen polo shirts, literally buttoned up to the throat.
That's 1960s quadrophenia-tastic. Like. I've got no problem with that as long as it's not a long sleeve.
Yeah, but in this heat?
Yeah, in this heat, well, I mean, people don't know what the world's going on. My concern is that at the moment I'm working in a water recycling plant. So when it's hot, that is... sniff that.
Smells like victory.
It does. It smells like something. Luckily, the office is triple glazed, so it's not something you get until you walk to and from the car. Someone says, I'm just nipping out to Tesco to get food. I'm like, I ain't going outside. No chance.
Yeah.
Not.
Here's my shopping list.
Yeah. First of all, ginger, so I'm obviously adverse to the sun. And second of all, it stinks, so no thanks.
It smells of poo-poo, and I don't wish to go to it just to get a panini.
Exactly. Dutton, big week this week. We've got a couple of classic weird worlds. One, not really a weird world, more of how the hell did this happen, and how has it been happening for 80 years. Then we have a random thing. Me and you have done a mock draft using some of the wonders of technology through Inside the Pylon, and we talk about Washington and Philadelphia.
The Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles.
The three-time Super Bowl champion Washington semi-professional football team. We could do this all day. My team sucks. Your team's good. But we're gonna put a number of players on that team, probably incorrectly because that's how it works. But who cares? And also, what we can do then is look at our mock draft in 3 years and go, if we would have got them, my team would be better, and your team would probably be exactly the same.
Yeah.
And then we're going doubling up, living the stream style. Last week, JJ Zachariason. This week, the owner of Libs, Mr. Denny Carter, who we're going to talk to about his book, his thoughts on best ball and what the hell that means, and also why he likes double L Luke Wilson. But let's get this party started, Dutton, with a classic weird world. Do you know what I like, Dutton?
Big butts.
Yeah, I do like big butts, can't lie. But irony, and I like how irony can be pretty ironic at times.
Or bronzy or silvery. Get a Blackadder for everyone then.
Just what? Where's the boo? For some reason, I haven't got a boo on the soundboard.
Well, there aren't any tumbleweeds because they're all in California. Carry on.
Have you seen that? Wow, that's crazy, by the way. That isn't even the weird world.
I only told a joke.
In California, though? Like, there you go. That told you not to speak to them people.
Damn libs.
Lawyers' pants catch fire during Florida arson trial. It seemed like a setup to a tired joke. A lawyer's pants caught on fire in court. For the kids among us, liar, pants on fire. But on Wednesday, it was Stephen Gutierrez's reality when a Florida defense attorney's pants began smoking during an arson trial. 11th Circuit Court Public Relations Director Eunice Sigler confirmed to NBC on Thursday. Gutierrez, 28, was in the Miami-Dade courtroom. Gotta love Florida. Like, Florida is the absolute business. Like, I don't know how it... At some points, I look at it and how it's connected to the rest of America, and I'm really surprised that somehow someone hasn't accidentally snapped it off just by, I don't know, some accident or deliberately or whatever.
Quick, help them! No,
we're okay, thanks.
Yeah. Go well.
Enjoy yourselves. So Gutierrez was it defending 49-year-old Cloudy Charles, great name, spectacular name, strong name, who was accused of setting his car alight. But during his closing argument, Gutierrez began to feel a heat coming from his pocket where he had several electric cigarette batteries. Like,
Jesus Christ.
Why? Like you need more than one. Like, what? Why have you got multiple? And are you rubbing them together to set them on fire? What is this? As Gutierrez argued, Charles's car had merely spontaneously combusted. Even better. The lawyer's pants seem to do the same. This is literally comedy hour. This is this is
night court.
This is brilliant. Gutierrez, witnesses in the courtroom told the Miami Herald the moment was surreal, shock, as Gutierrez rushed out of the courtroom while smoke billowed from his pocket. While Gutierrez said as the heat intensified, he hurried into the bathroom where he tossed the battery in the water. He was able
safe.
He was able to return to the courtroom with just a singed pocket.
See, I remember Jack D once telling a story how he was doing a show and he could smell burning, which obviously, is never a good thing. So he called for the house lights to come up, which they brought them up, and he saw some fella on the front row, and he was like, "Well, what's going on here, mate?" He said, this fella was just setting fire to my leg with his cigarette lighter. Why did you do that? I mean, he said, I don't know. I've never met him before. And he went, why were you doing this to this man? He went, I wanted to see how long I could burn it until he noticed. And he went, no, as you do. And then so Jack D went, out of curiosity, can you tell me how long? And he went, I don't know. I forgot to count.
And then, so this psycho, I assume, is now in a mental institution, given the fact that he's absolutely off his rocker. But that's brilliant. It gets no better than Florida, and a guy defending someone whose car, by the way, I think we hit the headline there, was defending a guy who said his car spontaneously combusted, and then spontaneously combusted himself.
We're getting down to this. How much of your electric cigarette are you going through that you need several backup batteries?
I think,
and why are they in your trousers?
I think there's an elephant in the room here that everyone's moved over to vaping, right? And absolutely no one has any clue how dangerous it is. It might not be dangerous, but it could be, and we have no clue. So we're like, get on to all these people not smoking anymore, where they're randomly using electricity to put smoke into their chest. And
it's not smoke, it's chemical.
Well, exactly right. That's what I'm saying.
You're using electricity and chemicals to put into your brain, into your chest. What could possibly go wrong?
Well, if you don't look after it properly, it could set your pants on fire, Neil. That's what we actually do know. Neil, the next one isn't necessarily a weird world, but you brought it to my attention, and I think we should talk about it.
You're welcome.
Yeah. A crap superhero is 80 years of age today, Dutton. In my opinion, the crappiest of the superheroes. Not crap as in, oh my god, terrible power. Actually, quite the opposite. Superman is 80 today, Neil. That means, if you think about it logically, 80 years and minus 3 days ago, some guys were on deadline and had to think of a comic. They said, okay, let's make a guy who's dead good, possibly super. What powers should we give him? Does anybody want a drink? Well, we can't have a drink until we've finished this comic. Okay, well, let's rush this comic really quickly because I really want a drink. And let's just give him all the powers. And that's what they did. This is, without a shadow of a doubt, the laziest created superhero of all time. No words, Neil?
It's one of those, I think, when we happen upon subjects that are close to one's heart, it's best to let that person give full vent and then not impede in it with my own opinions. I mean, I personally, I'm my favourite of that genre. I don't like the term superhero because most of them are not superheroes. The only superhero is Superman because the rest are all either human, aliens, or gods, or mutants. But it was it launched. Superman is significant because it ushered in the superhero genre. Without Superman, we would not have Batman. We would not have Spider-Man. We would not have any of the Marvel characters. So appreciate him for the cultural icon he is, not for the fact that, as you say, Jerry and Joel, I think that's what their names are, just decided, look, happy hours I call them.
I just no, I won't because I don't like him. He's scared of Green Rock. That's the only thing that he's scared of is Green Rock, which is interesting. And also, like, when he, like, say Batman, if we use Batman as the example, like, he's proper cool when he's not Batman, right?
Yeah.
Like, Superman is a boring superhero, do-gooder. However, when he then isn't a superhero, he's a boring do-gooder. Like, and he's got all these powers and he's using them for what? Like, to get rid of all the people, like, immediately.
I did read once. It said, that once Clark Kent / Superman / Jor-El, whatever his name, whatever you go with, as he's grown to adulthood, he's got X-ray vision. Why not become a doctor? So you can spot people with tumours and lesions and whatnot. Oh, no. What the world really needed was another hack journalist.
That's what the world needs more of, Dutton. More journalists. We could do this for hours. We're not going to, because I don't want to. If you've got a weird world story for us, please share it. I'm at Mangy7, Neil is at Ndutton13, and together we are at waxing_lyrical. We love the stories, and if you can't send us any, I'll just find 74 from Florida because they all exist. Neil, I guess what we're going to do now is, with the draft fast approaching, correct me if I'm wrong.
I have heard rumours it's coming.
It's Thursday. Next Thursday. Today is Thursday. This will probably come out tomorrow, Friday. However, so we're literally 7 days, 6 days when you listen. Unless you don't listen on Friday. We could do this forever, but I'm not going to.
You don't, or you just don't listen. You don't download. So why are we talking to you?
Why are we even talking about it? So what we're going to do now is Neil is going to explain the concept of the inside the pylon big board and fan speaks team needs, and then we're going to talk about our first 4 picks based on that concept and how they're going to be on my team, the Washington semi-professional football team, or Neil's team, the Super Bowl champion Philadelphia Eagles.
Thank you. Well, it's at fanspeak.com. They have a number of various simulations you can run. They can do like the free agency, and they can do with the draft. And what you can do is you can choose which NFL team you want to do a draft for. It then gives you a list, a choice of various reputable sources, big boards. So you've got people like Optimum Scouting, Davis Mattek, Jeff Miller, Inside the Pylon, who friend Mark Schofield works for. So you can choose which of these. So that ranks the players in order, in their level of preference. So their top 300 players, as it were. You then choose a team needs section. So again, this is various people because not everyone agrees which team needs what. I mean, some people could argue that maybe the Chicago Bears need a running back. They probably don't, but some people will think they do, whereas others will think they do. So again, you pick that, you then pick a team, you can draft for as many rounds as you want, from 1 to 7. I've gone for all 7, which is a bit pointless as the Eagles don't have a second and third. All the other teams are drafting around you, so then it's comes to you. So what we did here was looking at the Inside the Pylon big board and the FanSpeak's own team needs, taking the best player available for the Redskins and for the Eagles at the highest position of need to see where we get.
So I'm going to go first. I'm going to give you my first, second, fourth, and fifth, and then you want to talk about the 7th round draft pick that we did. So the first round, based on this logic that Neil talked about, I drafted Michigan defensive tackle Maurice Hurst, 6'2", 282 pounds. Weirdly, great weird backstory. His dad is a former NFL cornerback. His mum is a Patriots cheerleader. I don't know. I have no idea where they met. Obviously, he's Tinder. Swipe. I think he's. I don't know. I actually don't know. I could say
Move
swipe
on.
left or right. I don't know.
Yeah.
Hurst is a 3 technique. He gets out of blocks, heads. Perfect fit with Jonathan Allen. Let's be brutally honest here. Washington need to follow examples of other teams who may have just won the Super Bowl last year. The team that won the Super Bowl last year have a really strong defensive line. So therefore, that is what Washington are going to do.
Mm-hmm. Maurice Hurst, in the last 3 seasons, has 31 tackles for loss and 13.5 sacks. And according to Fanspeak, Washington's greatest need was on the defensive line.
Next pick for Washington is 2nd round. And for that, we drafted Billy Price, who it says here is a centre for Ohio State, but I'm pretty sure I went to school with him and we were in the same science class. Although he says he's in Austintown, Ohio. But Billy didn't sound anything like he was from Ohio. He sounded like he was from Kirby.
He is Optimum Scouting's top-rated centre.
I
want to hear you say this name.
So okay, this is where it gets interesting, right? This is a spectacular name. This is okay. So in the Washington don't have a 3rd round pick, so the next pick they will have is in the 4th round, and they will pick Equanimus St. Brown. He's a wide receiver from Notre Dame.
Yep, he has 94 career receptions for 1,484 yards and 13 touchdowns in his last 3 seasons. According to playerprofile.com, the player he most closely resembles is Tyrell Williams of the San Diego /LA Chargers. He had his best year at college while Deshaun Kaiser was quarterback. So if you can play well with Kaiser, I don't know if Alex Smith's going to use him, but you know.
So let's use that Kaiser analogy. Kaiser loves to throw it probably a bit high and a bit hard in Cleveland last year. So just so you know why he was good for Equanimus. 6'5", 240 pounds, and ran a 4.48. So that's what we like to call in the trade prototype wide receiver.
His dad is a former Mr. Universe.
And his mum's German, right?
I believe so, yeah.
This is where these are great stories, right? So his father, John Brown, was a 2-time Mr. Universe and 3-time Mr. World as a weightlifter. His mum was from Germany, and he lived in France for a short period of his life. I like it. I like that rounded world that this guy's got, which means absolutely no chance we're drafting him.
And plus the NFL, no rounded. He's going to ask questions. He's going to want to know why. What a shame. Never going to happen.
What a shame that dude wasn't drafted and never got a job.
Damn millennials.
Damn millennials indeed, Neil. Final one that I want to discuss is Washington's first 5th round pick. Washington have 2. That is from my favourite university in the past, USC, and that's Rasheem Green, and he is a defensive end edge rusher.
Again, similar production actually to Maurice Hurst. 20 tackles for loss, 16.5 sacks his last 3 seasons.
You'll be no surprise to hear as a defensive tackle for USC. He was a 5-star recruit out of high school and an All-American.
So is he actually more edge than line?
He's 5 technique on it. Yes, he's a future NFL 5 technique. So I don't know.
Might be an odd scheme fit, but nevertheless,
he's tall with a tapered waist and long limbs. I love reading stuff like this because it actually, movement.
Sounds sexy.
Has tools, traits, and talents of a rusher.
Awesome. Has
feet synced up with his rush work. Don't know what that means, but it sounds cool. The only other one you wanted to talk about, Neil, was Jalen Samuels from NC State. Talk me through him. He's a 7th round pick, by the way, in Dutton's draft.
Jalen Samuels was listed and trained at the combine with the tight ends. He's not a tight end. He's 5'11". So he's something. He's something of an offensive chess piece. He's a bit of a man without a position. but he can be used to create mismatches. He's very, very similar in his college production as to what Charles Clay did. So Jalen Samuels, between 2014 and 2017, had had 201 receptions for 1,851 yards and 19 touchdowns. He had 182 rushing attempts for 1,106 yards and 28 rushing touchdowns. He's not going to be a running back. He's not going to be a tight end. He's not going to be a receiver. He's going to be an H-back. Think Chris Cooley.
But Dutton, what I like is that we've defined him as OW. Oh yeah, baby. Offensive weapon.
Yeah, as opposed to us who are offensive people.
Or weapons, if you know what that means. Neil, talk me through... I want to know, look, because I can see yours. I want to know your first, your 2 4s, and your and your 5th round pick, please, for the Philadelphia Eagles.
First 2 4s and the 5th round pick. Well, the first, the Eagles at this moment pick 32nd. They picked 32nd.
Why did they pick 32nd, Neil?
They won the Super Bowl.
Okay.
Is Connor Williams, offensive tackle from Texas. The first of the 2 4th round picks is Christopher Herndon, tight end from the U. Yes, very good. The second 4th round pick, and it's a great name because it sounds like an album title or a tour announcement. His name is Breland Speaks.
Oh no, I've got that podcast on I got that podcast. Listen to that podcast on Spreaker.
Yeah, he's an edge defender from Mississippi. And the 5th round pick is Bo Scarborough, not Scarborough, Scarborough, running back from Alabama.
You sure it's Scarborough? You mean that place that Yorkshire play cricket?
At that fair that Sam and Garfunkel were asking if we were going to.
Talk me through offensive tackle, Dalton. Are we saying that Connor Williams is a long-term replacement for Jason Peters? Or are we saying he does right tackle and Lane Johnson moves to the left?
See, I'm personally of the opinion that Lane should be left where he is, as the days that, you put your best athlete at left tackle and you can literally just put anyone at right, I think they're gone, because an awful lot of pass rushers line up at right. There's a great clip from last year of Lane Johnson tossing Von Miller aside like he's a rag doll. And plus, Lane Johnson, when he's been at left tackle, hasn't been that great. He's been good, but he's not as good as he is at right. Leave him there because I don't want to run the risk of, weakening 2 spots. Connor Williams, again, is Optimum Scouting's #1 ranked offensive tackle. He's best suited, in their opinion, to a zone blocking scheme. The Eagles are quite multiple in what they do, but their offensive line literally is just mauling people. So I think a zone blocker could be quite good. It's very, very likely, given it's not a great offensive tackle class, he probably won't be there at 32. But if he is, the Eagles do need to start looking at replacing Jason Peters, although hopefully Peters will play next season.
Of course. And I guess I'm interested in Bo Scarborough because that's a name, if you watch college football, that people will know. Maybe not so much from last year, but the year before. Chiseled from stone, massive, can run all day, but has that what we like to call Alabama running back stink that usually means that hasn't gone very well in the pros for many, although Mark Ingram and Derrick Henry are trying to kill that vibe.
Yeah, I mean, as you say, they've got that Alabama stink on them. Bo Scarborough, he's never had 1,000 yards, so obviously that's something of a problem. The Eagles do need to address running back. It's probably the one major area of, I'm not going to say weakness, it looks like the one area that's been thrown together on their roster, whereas everything else looks quite solid. The Eagles have been linked with the likes of Darius Geis, and they've had Rashad Penny in for private workouts. These are all very well and good, but there's going to be some positions where I think there's going to be a run on them this year, and I think running back will be one. So the chances of them being able to take one of these at 32, I don't think it's going to be there. So they're probably going to have to address this later in the draft. Bo Scarborough, as you say, Alabama, he has been compared by some to Derrick Henry. I say he's just a big bugger. He's like a force of nature. In his time with the Crimson Tide, He had 267 rushing attempts for 1,512 yards and 20 touchdowns. Doesn't offer him as a pass catcher, and this is obviously an area that the Eagles, as I say, they don't really have an outstanding satellite back. He only had 21 receptions in his last 3 seasons for 131 yards. Did average 6.5 yards per carry in 2016. So again, I can see the Eagles drafting a running back. If they want to go higher, though, they're going to have to make Howie Rosewizard is going to have to make some moves because the Eagles don't have a second-day pick.
So that's mine and Neil's mock drafts. As we said, discussed on how we're going to do it. They're not sexy, especially because I'm picking a defensive tackle and Neil's picking a offensive tackle, but they're the places that the team needs based on what we've seen and what we're reading on the necessary website. So Neil, that's enough of just me and you talking. I think it's time to get King of the Lib Killers, Denny Carter, on the phone to discuss. Actually, I'm gonna switch it up. I'm gonna ask for Denny's thoughts on Superman, and then we're gonna talk about his book and some streaming stuff. What do you reckon?
I can't help feeling that the mood you're in, you'd have asked any of our guests this week their thoughts on Superman. I mean, I'd love to have heard Andrew Brandt, but ultimately, Denny's will be cool as well.
Cool. Let's get this started. And joining us now on Waxing Lyrical, it's a pleasure to have our first chat with Denny Carter at CDCarter13, co-host of Living the Stream, opinion haver, and lover of IPAs. Denny, how are we today?
You had to bring in the IPAs. I'm doing well. How are you guys?
We're not bad. We like to do our research, and most of it's alcohol.
Yeah, I'm dealing with chicken pox, the sequel, for my second child. So it's fun times.
Neil, that's terrible.
I almost feel guilty because my chicken pox when I was a youngster lasted for 1 day, and my children's hasn't.
Oh man, yeah, chicken pox was a living nightmare if I remember correctly as a kid. Yeah.
So, Denny, first question. Earlier in the show, me and Neil have been talking about a superhero whose birthday it is today, 80 years old, Superman. We're interested in your thoughts on him being defined as a hero, as I've got my own hot take on him, as I think he's the laziest superhero ever created.
Well, yeah, I mean, I have issues. I have a lot of issues with Superman. I think that it's a generational disconnect with Superman because, growing up in the 80s and 90s and then into the 2000s, you probably are a much more cynical person growing up then than you were growing up in the 50s and 60s when Superman was, the height of the action hero world of pop culture. So I think maybe that's generational. But my main problem with him is that he's incredibly cheesy just as a character, and then B, why? And maybe you'll touch on this. Why has he not taken over the whole world if he has all of these superpowers? It's like, to me, like, why hasn't Professor X been able to stop everything bad from happening in the whole world because of the power that he has? I mean, what is he doing? Why won't he just use that power for good? I don't know.
So I'm with you. So there's two issues, major issues with Superman, which we've already touched on, but I'll discuss again. Number one, I believe that the guys who created it was probably Friday afternoon. They were tremendously tired. They probably really hungry and thought, what powers should we give him? Oh, stuff it. Let's just give him all the powers. This will be dead easy. You then have to kind of come back on Monday and think, oh God, we've given him all the powers. Now we need to make him, scared of something. Let's pick a rock. Then second of all, I'm absolutely with you on this idea of that. Like, if I was Superman, I'd be in charge a little bit more. So the only actual good Superman, as in quote unquote comic, is actually technically a bad Superman, is the Red Krypton one, where instead of landing in America, he lands in Russia, and like basically Stalin takes him over, and he just becomes this guy who basically runs everything for Russia.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that existed.
I think it's called Red Sun.
Red Sun, it's called. So he goes to he lands in a different place, and it sounds ridiculous. We're talking about an alternate universe in comic book land, but in an alternate universe, he becomes the head of the communist state.
Wow.
So he actually he actually then does use his powers for what he would define as good, i.e., there's no real bad in the world.
He fights the hero of the West that is Lex Luthor.
Lex Luthor.
I need to. Well, I know what I'm going to be Googling after the show. That's incredible. I just to give you an idea of what I think of Superman. So the only Superman comic I ever bought was when I was 11 years old, and someone told me that Superman had died in the most recent comic, so I bought it.
Exactly. Got to find out how that happens. So, Denny, if we move on, you are releasing for our benefit a guide on successfully owning the libs. So I guess the question that we need to understand is, for us Brits, can you tell us a bit more about what that actually means?
Yeah, sure. I was trying to explain this to my dad the other day, and it didn't go well. But I'll try to give you kind of the elevator pitch, which is this is a guide to online combat with liberals. Well, some offline combat, but online combat with liberals. If you are a true American patriot. And so is this book satire? That's for you to decide. But I wanted to explore this phenomenon that I see every day, which is conservatives, particularly Trump people, doing anything and everything to make liberals feel bad about themselves, and it's incredible the lengths that they'll go to, including hurting oneself. But if it makes your opponent, your political opponent, feel badly, then it was all worth it. It's an incredible thing to watch.
It's a bit like, there is a danger with some of it that maybe another thing you're touching on Twitter is that you need to qualify some of the things that you do say by saying, but I'm an entertainer. So that, if you haven't successfully owned the libs, you can come back later and say, what? You don't take me seriously? Yeah,
that's right. The best, like I said, the best part about being, I'm not a cable news talking head, but for those who have these huge platforms where they can say anything and everything, even if it's patently false, they can just turn it around and say, I'm just an entertainer. I'm just on TV to entertain. I don't have anything to do with news or anything. And that's exactly what I'll do. If people are confused or put off by the book, I'm going to look. Hey, don't be mad at me. I'm an entertainer.
I mean, obviously, you have. We touched on it before the show. You reside in the only legitimate time zone, the Eastern time. Obviously, Paul and I, we live in another time zone. Do you think the fact that the UK is about 8 hours ahead of the West Coast, is this a geographic necessity, or is this us going out of our way to own the libs?
Wait, you're saying that you that because you live 8 hours ahead of the West Coast that you're owning the libs on the West Coast? Is that
That's it, yeah.
I never thought of it that way, but look, facts are facts, and if you're eating dinner when they're waking up on the West Coast and surfing and eating fish tacos or whatever West Coasters do, I don't know what they do. So and so I think that being that far ahead is just a huge own. Well done.
I mean, technically, it's as we spoke to JJ last week and said, we're speaking to him from the future, and without wanting to ruin it, and nothing happened, and it sucked. So we've already lived the day for you libs. Nothing happened. You couldn't do anything.
That's right. It really makes you think.
The thought of making people think blows my mind. If we drift slowly into the world of Fantasy League, in our League of Records, we have tentatively broached the subject of scrapping several positions, basically kicker and possibly tight end. Would you see this as an attack on your own hashtag brand?
Yeah. I mean, I see it as a personal attack. I'm personally hurt by it. It makes me, I'm not going to cry right now, but I may cry. I may cry later. But besides that, it really means nothing to me that you want to kill the kicker position. I actually understand the call to get rid of kicker because I know that fantasy footballers tend to just not be able to handle when they win or lose because of a kicker, because they face a kicker who scores 20 points or because they have one. There's even some guilt with people, who have a 20-point kicker, and then they're like, "Ah, geez, my team stinks. I had to rely on my kicker." But kickers are projectable, I mean, they're more consistent scorers than running back or wide receiver, just for instance.
I mean, obviously, on Living the Stream, you and JJ try and, project tight ends, wide and quarterbacks. I try and project tight end streamers as well. And to be honest, sometimes I just think, just hang it all and just do the kickers. Just scrap tight end and just have two kicker spots. That
Neil, you are reading my mind. If you're gonna kill a position, you gotta get rid of tight end. You just gotta. I mean, and I like your column, by the way, and I read it all the time. And so even if you have extremely good process, which you have, and I hope that we have on Living the Stream, you still end up with a bunch of nonsense from tight ends because it fluctuates so much. There's just. It's a position that just should be, I think.
It is quite frustrating when you in one way you think, okay, I did really well. I projected the tight end 6 on the week, and then you realise he scored 5 points, and it's like it was a victory, but it was a very Pyrrhic one.
Yeah. So here's something that gets on my nerves a little bit. When people say, I believe this tight end can be a top 12 tight end. Well, that's not saying much. I mean, that's not saying that. Like, what is that saying? Literally any tight end on a weekly basis can be a top 12 tight end, and I don't mean that. I'm not being hyperbolic. I mean, like, actually any tight end, and on a season, who cares if a guy is a top 12 tight end? The tight end 12 in a given season, it was a disaster for you if you rolled him out every week, right?
But it's as you said on recent, I think it was a Patrons episode. As long as you say "I feel," you can't be wrong.
Right? Yeah, you do have to say that. I like how I actually learned that in college. I learned that in my journalism courses. People would preface their answer with "I feel like," and therefore by the end of their, by the end of their answer, they couldn't be wrong, and it's a great technique.
I did a similar one. I got told actually by a tutor to say that if you want to use the line "it has been said," say it to yourself, and then you can write it.
It has been said. I mean that's like Trump saying many are saying.
Yeah.
Like when he's like, many are saying that I'm the greatest president, and you're not citing anybody. You're just saying.
Shockingly, I didn't pass that course. I think it's because
strange.
I kept forgetting to say it.
Yeah,
so obviously.
Exactly.
In recent Patrons episode of Living the Stream, Danny, you did a best ball draft in April.
That's right.
Is this what our generation does for thrill seeking now, or is this about as white knuckle as we can get?
Yeah, right. It's as thrilling as dad life can be. No, I mean it's like one of the most nihilistic things that you can do is a draft in April, because like for instance, Brandon Marshall was just cut like 5 minutes before we started recording this, right? So if you had drafted him thinking that he's going to get, he's going to fall into a bunch of targets in New York, then you are already wrong. And I mean, he could go somewhere okay. I'm not saying that pick is a disaster, but there's just so much that changes. As I was doing that draft, I'm thinking, like if the season started tomorrow, this team looks pretty good, but it doesn't start tomorrow, so this team will probably look like garbage by September.
It was the you started obviously quite calmly, very analytical. David Johnson's available, but as you got further into it, it was like Kenny Stills is still available. The tilt was very much in evidence.
Yes, right. I mean, I see Kenny Stills in the 13th, and I see people online talking about him. Like he's like guaranteed to see 120 targets or something. I don't know if that's going to happen. I have not delved into that sort of projection on that level yet, but you get into the double digit rounds in April, and I think dart throwing, it doesn't really sum it up. I mean, you are totally blind. You are just picking human beings off a board and hoping that they're playing by September, honestly.
That sounds like how we not draft in August, Neil. But anyway, with regards to living the streams, Denny, aside from the obvious situations that demand a stream, tight end versus the Giants, for instance, do you guys have a specific process for identifying streamers, or is it just look and feel?
No, we talk. JJ and I talk every week before the show. It's really throughout the Monday and Tuesday, and then we record Living the Stream on Tuesday nights. So through Monday and Tuesday, we will go back and forth and say, I like this guy, I like that guy, and sometimes we disagree. Sometimes we disagree vehemently about a certain guy. But the process. Are you asking about tight ends or about
anything, any position?
Position. I mean, right. So I guess for different positions, we're looking for different things. But for defenses, we're looking for potential for turnovers, and we look at the Vegas lines because that has pretty good correlation with defensive team defense scoring. Quarterbacks are the easiest by far because there are a lot more things to look at, stats to look at as far as correlating with fantasy production, and whether it has to do with rushing for quarterbacks who rush. Or what game script might look like, and projecting game script. Many are saying that's a fool's errand. I say that it can be helpful when you're really digging at the bottom of the of the quarterback pool for a given week.
Obviously, you spotted a name during going back to this best ball draft. You did spot a name that you think, even at this early stage, because we all know how important, your feelings in April. We know how important they're going to be in September. Was someone who you and JJ may be speaking about quite often. That was Luke Double L Wilson.
Double L, yeah.
I mean, I wrote an article about him for Player Profiler, and again, it was just because I just thought he was some bum in Seattle who they just had to, to keep Jimmy Graham company in the tight end room as Jimmy pretended to be a tight end. But actually, when you look into it, thinking this man just needs a chance. Then it'll all get ruined when the Lions then go and draft Hayden Hurst, who was about 4 years older than Eric Ebron, who they just released. Without delving too deep into any research, is there anyone that you look at now? Maybe they've changed team. Or maybe they've just got an opportunity like that you think we will be talking about them in September time as a streamer. Yeah.
Well, I feel like is it Trey Burton in Chicago? He seems to be gaining a lot of traction to the point where I don't know if he's going to be a late round guy come August. But he jumps out. But mostly, and I am afraid of Detroit drafting a tight end in the first round, which would just be a death knell pretty much for Luke Wilson. But I'm looking for tight ends who have proven somewhat viable in a small opportunity. When they get it, and now they fall into a bigger opportunity, especially with an offense like Detroit. That throws it short so often. I think Stafford was 21st in ADOT last year, and he was 30th and A dot the year before, 31st. So that says to me that there could be tight end potential there. So any team that sort of fits that mold, the tight end on that offense is someone I'd be interested in.
Final question for us, Denny, before we let you get back to your day. In the past, once the draft is done, the truthers as well as the haters begin to turn their gaze to their fantasy season.
Yeah.
Draft day consultants at that point becomes a valuable resource. Can you tell us a little bit about the site?
Yeah, thanks. And that's when we start kind of pushing out the site a little bit after the NFL draft, because dynasty stuff starts up hot and heavy after that. But yeah, Draft Day Consultants. It's draftdayconsultants.com if the folks want to check it out. We provide consultation for keeper leagues, dynasty, redraft. Redraft is our bread and butter. For best ball leagues, whatever it may be, where we connect analysts from across the industry, and we have some really good names. If people want to check it out, who will talk to the client while they're drafting. And if the client wants, they can talk before they draft to get a sense of the direction they want to go. But the main service is during a draft, we communicate with the client to say, here's what I would do in this situation. And a lot of times the client will go ahead and do that, and then other times they'll say, no, this is my team. I want to do something a little different, go in a different direction, and that's fine because it's your team. It's not our team. We want you to have ownership of it, but we are there to give our input on what what would be best from our perspective to make a good fantasy team. So August is a big month for us, but before that, we do get a lot of dynasty people coming in asking for consultation with our dynasty experts, of which I am not, by the way. But we have a really good team there.
That sounds like that time that we both did a draft and I was picking and you kept on shouting in my ear, "Don't do that, you effing idiot! Not him. Pick the other guy. You're rubbish at this. Stupid prat. Why are you picking him?"
I was an enthusiastic amateur at the art of draft consultancy.
Exactly.
Yeah. My favorite is when we get a client who says, "Look, I'm a Packers fan. Get me a lot of Packers," and you have to do it. I mean, and sometimes that works out okay. It's not the best way to go, obviously, but it is funny when a homer just says, "I'm a homer. I want to root for my guys. Make a team with my guys," and that presents a new challenge for us.
That sounds like Dave in our league.
It's Patriots.
Yeah, 1 year it was. I think it was 2 years ago. Brady fourth overall. Edelman in the second round. And it was like this isn't going to get any better.
This is why I have the benefit of being good at this, because my team, the Washington semi-professional football team, why for the love of God would I pick any of them? I've got one team that I don't have to pick. I'm being a homer by saying these are garbage. Get away from my fancy team. I have enough of you in real life. Thank you very much.
Right. Yeah. So, how did you end up being a Washington fan?
I was when the NFL started in the UK back in the late 80s. I'm from Liverpool. I support Liverpool. They wore red. Washington wore red, and Washington were good. And so that was kind of the thing. So my team will be and always will be the 91 Super Bowl team, Mark Rippon and those guys, and that ever seems further and further and further into the distance.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, we're talking about 25 years now, or right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Something like that.
Over, yeah.
By the way, when I was a kid, I went into the Washington locker room shortly before they went to the Super Bowl. My dad got some sort of access, and we went into it, and I saw Mark Rippon and all those guys. It was like seeing the last good team in the area ever.
Yeah, and I think that, yeah, exactly. You know, and if anyone listens who follows Washington sports, you don't have to worry. It's not just the American football team who stink, all the other teams stink, but at a different level. They stink at a kind of make the playoffs, give everyone false hope, and then lose in a ball of tremendous fire.
That's the curse.
But Denny, thanks a lot for your time, and we will speak to you again soon, hopefully.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
And that was the brilliant Denny Carter there, teaching us how to own the libs, understanding that we live in the future, and talking us through why the heck he's doing a best ball draft in April. Neil, I guess before we go on, I think there's a few things we just need to explain to the stupid people, namely me. Neil, what best ball? What are we talking about when we're talking about that kind of draft?
Well, best ball basically is it goes along with the theory that the best part of fantasy football is drafting a team, and that actually having to go through the fiddly bits of actually picking them every week is something of a chore. So what best ball is basically, it's a team you draft, and that it will calculate your best score from the positions you pick on a weekly basis. You don't touch this team again. You don't do trades. You don't do free agents. You don't drop. You don't cut. You basically, it's usually 20 rounds. You pick. Obviously you're going to need to get your wide receivers, your running backs, your tight ends, your team defenses as well, and basically you stock them up to try and make sure that you have a competitive roster every week. Some players like. You know how there's some players who you think they're really good, but they're either going to get you 3 catches for 120 and a touchdown, or they're going to get you one catch for 20 yards.
Yeah.
But you don't know what week it's coming.
Mm-hmm.
Those type of players are ideal for best ball, because if you get the week where they go off, there's a good chance they'll help you, and you won't be punished by every week when they suck.
And the other acronym that Denny uses, ADOT, which is fantastic, by the way, on Matthew Stafford, and that means average depth of target, right? So that means they don't throw it very far before someone catches it.
When it's used as a quarterback, ADOT is the average depth of throw. Mm-hmm. When it's a receiver, it's average depth of target. So obviously, the higher number you have, the further downfield you're being targeted. The lower means literally. Put it this way,
Jarvis Landry
has a very low ADOT. Yeah.
Shockingly enough. Well, it's been a brilliant week. We've talked about a lawyer's pants going on fire. We've slagged off Superman. We've give you the mock drafts for the Washington semi-professional football team and the Philadelphia Eagles, and then we've had the brilliant Denny Carter. Dutton, anything to promote this week?
I have something coming out soon for Number Fire about Alex Collins, who could be the low-cost RB1 you need going into the new season. Other than that, no, I think I'm on a little wind down until the draft, when I can actually, write about things that have actually happened.
Fantastic. Well, that's us. I'm at Mandy7. Neil is at EndUp13. Combined, we are at waxing_lyrical. Please download, listen, like, share, do whatever you can to make us as popular as possible, because, I want to go on Aldi loads, and I think I need to monetize this bad boy.
Best luck with that.
Thank you. These top guys are out.